thing with emotional maturity, they say you don't know how to regulate your emotions. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Regulate means like you're choosing which emotion you want to be in, right? So to say someone's emotionally immature because somebody got you out of character, you're not regulating your emotions. How? So by me choosing the emotion of being calm, that means I regulated my emotions. Once again, with what I said earlier. But if I chose the route of being mad, I didn't regulate my emotions because I chose to be mad, and therefore I'm emotionally immature.
But I did respond to him and say to him, it's nothing wrong with being mad or feeling mad. It's what you do with the feeling that matters.
That's correct. Also, how about we be a little gentle with ourselves? Give yourself some grace. Nobody's perfect. Like, I can't say as a human being and as a licensed therapist that I don't get pissed off sometimes. That doesn't mean every time I get pissed off that I'm going to respond in a way that's unhealthy or that causes chaos. Sometimes I do, and I got to walk away before it go all the way left because I'm human. So you got to give yourself grace as well. That's a tool. It's okay to be like, you know what? You just pissed me the fuck off. Let me go take a walk. Or, yo, stop talking to me because I'm getting mad. There's nothing wrong with speaking on your emotion. That doesn't mean that you got to break things. You got to hit somebody, kill somebody. And that's what I mean. So, no, if you get upset, that doesn't mean that you're emotionally immature or you're not regulating your emotions. You're human. You're human.
So why the hell have you been sitting there blocking everybody? Why have you been blocking everybody? You mad about money.
Let's talk about something that we've all faced at some point in our life, and that's someone who seems to drain your peace. It could be a friend, a family member, or even a coworker. They're always stirring up drama or demanding emotional labor from you. And after the interaction, you walk away feeling exhausted and frustrated, but the whole interaction can be draining. So what do? Do you confront them? Do you attempt to set boundaries? Or do you just go as far as cutting off their access to you? Let's spend a little time exploring this. But first, we have to recognize the signs of a draining relationship. What does it even mean for someone to drain your peace? If you feel anxious when you see their name pop up on your phone, it's draining. If they constantly bring negativity without ever offering solutions or support, it's draining. When you're giving more in the relationship than you're receiving, it's not only draining, it's depleting your energy supply. Sometimes the draining behavior isn't intentional. So it's important for you to understand that they may be going through something themselves. But here's what's key. Just because somebody's struggling doesn't mean that you have to carry the weight of their world on your shoulders. You got to understand your own limits. You only have so much time and energy, and your mental capacity can reach its peak when it comes to negative information overload. If you're constantly pouring into other people without replenishing yourself, you're going to reach a point of burnout. And let me say this, protecting your peace is not selfish. It is absolutely necessary. Think about when you're on a plane and the flight attendant gives instructions on how to use the oxygen mask in case of an emergency. Who do they tell you to secure first? They tell you to secure your own mask before helping anyone else, and that includes your minor child sitting next to you. And why is that? Because you can't help anyone if you yourself experience a loss of oxygen, and it makes good sense, right? Well, when someone is pulling you down emotionally, it's okay to step back and protect yourself. Protect your peace and your well-being. You got to set boundaries, and that's going to be your first line of defense. But you got to communicate those clearly. Let the person know what you need. You can say something like, listen, I value our relationship, but I need to protect my mental health right now. So can we just focus on something more positive? If they ignore your limits, it's a clear sign that they don't even respect your needs. And it also shows that they're being selfish and putting their needs above yours. So you have to stick to your boundaries. You got to set a boundary. That's one thing, but enforcing it is another. If necessary, you'll have to reduce the time that you spend with them. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to cut them off completely, at least not right away. But when should you cut off access? Well, okay, that's a tough question because there's no one size fits all answer, but there are a lot of things to consider. First, you got to ask yourself, is this relationship fixable? Or is this situation fixable? If the person shows a willingness to change, or if you believe that they're attempting to respect your boundaries, then it may be worth working on. If, on the other hand, the relationship is consistently harming your mental health, it might be time to distance yourself. Sometimes staying connected allows the other person to continue with their draining behaviors. Understand that cutting someone off doesn't have to be dramatic or even final. It can be as simple as taking a break, just time to regroup. After all, saying no to someone else is saying yes to yourself. When you're overly invested in someone else's life, that too can have emotional and mental consequences. So, by stepping back and finding balance, you can maintain healthier relationships while also ensuring your own well being. When we do choose to step back from a relationship or a situation, it can feel uncomfortable, and that's perfectly fine. Even though you might worry about how they'll react or what other people will think, you are not responsible for how someone else feels about your boundaries. It helps to remind yourself why you made the decision in the first place. You can always talk to someone you trust to help you process through any lingering guilt that you might have. Just know that prioritizing your peace, it doesn't make you a bad person, not in the least. And it helps to surround yourself with people who uplift and energize you. You're less likely to tolerate relationships that drain you. You need people who can encourage your growth and who share your values. Once you address the draining relationship, focus on rebuilding your peace. And you can do this by practicing self care. That can be in the form of meditating, journaling, or simply spending time doing things that bring you joy. The energy that you once gave to that relationship can now be redirected toward yourself. It's really just that simple. So you have to ask yourself one question really. Is this relationship or situation serving me or is it depleting me? And if it's the latter, you owe it to yourself to make a change. And you have the power to do that. So now that we know how to identify when we're being emotionally drained, how do we go about protecting our peace? We live in a time now where information is constant. Responsibilities pile up endlessly, it seems. And the noise, well, it can feel deafening. It's no surprise that a lot of us struggle to find calm moments. But when we're in the midst of chaos, protecting our peace isn't a luxury, it becomes a necessity. But what does peace really mean? What does that feel like? When I say peace, I'm talking about a life without challenges, conflict, or responsibility. Peace is being in a state of mental and emotional calm, regardless of the chaos around us. It's about tapping into our inner stability, a place you can go to no matter how chaotic the world becomes. Peace doesn't mean being passive or avoiding someone. It's a form of resisting the noise that seeks to overwhelm us. It's the basis from which we can think clearly and act with pure intentions. Peace allows us to thrive instead of just surviving or escaping. You want to know a big reason why your peace is so important? I'll tell you why. Because the opposite of peace is stress. And stress is a silent killer. It doesn't just steal your joy, it can tear apart your physical and mental health. It's been proven that prolonged exposure to stress increases the risk of heart disease, anxiety, depression, and a lot of other conditions. Protecting your peace creates space for your body and mind to heal and even recharge. A peaceful mind allows you to approach decisions with clarity. It helps you respond instead of reacting. Now, there's a difference between the two. The main difference between them is that reacting is an automatic emotional response, while responding, it's a thoughtful and more deliberate action. Responses are intentional, they're slower, and they require attention. While reacting, it's more impulsive. Usually, it's influenced by past experiences or fears, and it tends to come off as more defensive. When your mind is constantly racing, there's little room for you to self-reflect. So protecting your peace, it creates a fertile ground for self-awareness. You only have so much mental, emotional, and physical energy to begin with. If you're constantly spending it on chaos, whether it's toxic relationships, endless news cycles, or overcommitting to things that drain you, you won't have the energy for what truly matters. And that's your passions, your goals, the goals that you've set for yourself and your loved ones. So now, before we dive into how to protect your peace, it's important to understand what threatens it. In most cases, overstimulation is the biggest culprit. With social media, reality TV, 24-hour news, and those notifications you get from your text and emails, there's a constant flood of information that demands your attention, but it drains your focus. The chaos isn't always digital, though. Sometimes it's personal. Remember, we talked about those negative people? There's also unhealthy work environments or unresolved conflicts that can wreak havoc on your sense of calm. And these too can become toxic. The external factors are challenging, but the hardest battles are internal. Things like overthinking, self doubt, and unprocessed emotions can keep us in a state of unease. But the good news is that you can protect your peace, even in a chaotic world. It requires intention and practice, but the rewards are profound. I gave you some ways to protect your peace. Now, let's just quickly go over 3 of them. Number 1, you got to set those boundaries. Learn to say no without guilt and limit exposure to negativity, whether it's toxic people or draining content online. Take some intentional breaks from technology. Consider a digital detox where you disconnect from your devices and reconnect with yourself and the people around you. Use the time to reconnect with nature. You can read a book or just enjoy the silence. It's calming in and of itself. The second thing is create daily rituals of calm. You can start your day with intention, whether it's meditation, journaling, or simply sipping your coffee in silence. Grounding yourself in the morning sets your tone for the day. But you should also end your day with reflection or gratitude. A peaceful evening routine helps you process the day's events and transitions into rest. And the third and last thing is to prioritize your physical and mental health. You can exercise, sleep, and consume a healthy diet. All of these things are essential for maintaining balance. Your body and mind are seriously connected. Taking care of one, it nurtures the other. And please don't hesitate to seek professional help if you're struggling. Therapy, coaching, or counseling, it can transform your life where peace is the natural flow of progression. So before I get out of here, I want to remind you that protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's an act of love. When you prioritize your well-being, you're better equipped to show up for others. You'll become a better parent, a better partner, friend, and colleague when you operate from a place of calm rather than chaos. And tend to it daily. And know that by doing so, you're not just surviving the chaos, you're thriving in spite of it. Protecting your peace isn't about being cold or cutting people off without thought. It's about choosing yourself when staying connected to someone is doing you more harm than good. The reason chaos feels so overwhelming is because it's beyond our control. The world's always going to be noisy and unpredictable, but within you lies the power to create a sanctuary of peace. Guard it and do so fiercely. Instead of worrying about what you can't change, focus on what you can influence. And that's your actions, your mindset, and your responses. And remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. So prioritize your peace, and the right people will respect and support that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.